Hello, welcome to Community Corner. I'm Ryan Nicholas Square, along with my two other friends here.
Hello, welcome to Community Corner. My name is Aaron Connie Castle.
Hello, my name is DeWitt.
Welcome to Community Corner, everyone. Today we have with us today Pat McKay, Michelle Dunham, and Andrew Thomason. 3 staff members of Rochester Hills Hoosen Farm Museum. They are all engaged in all aspects of the museum. Also take applications and select people, including volunteers with disabilities. And they allow us to get back to the community. I and David and I volunteer, have learned about our town. Lots of new friends. My first question, Patrick, is this. Patrick, please tell us a little about your school, yourself, your family, and of course your schooling.
All right. Well, my name is Pat McKay, and I work here at the Rochester Hills Museum. I live here in Rochester Hills with my wife and my 4 daughters, and I'm a graduate of Michigan State University and Oakland University, and I found myself kind of working right back in the same community where I started, where I kind of grew up in the area, and find myself in an opportunity now to work in a historical museum that really talks a lot about community involvement. So it's really a great place to go to work every day.
Thank you. Aaron?
How long have you worked at the museum?
I've been very fortunate. I've been here for 24 years. So it's a long time, and I think over those 24 years I've got a chance to meet some wonderful people. You know, not only the residents of our community, but all the volunteers that work here too.
How long has the farm been located in Rochester Hills?
Well, that's a great story. You know, the original family came here in 1823, and our community was settled in 1817. So we're talking almost over 180 years of local history here. So it's a remarkable story. The Taylor Van Hoosen family, that's kind of the centerpiece of our museum complex, is a story that revolves around 5 generations of a family, and it shows, it's a great story about a family staying together, about a family that loved the land and their community, and a family that was very, I guess, philanthropic. At the end, they gave it all away to give it back to our community, to make the community better, even after they were all here. So it's a long story that's over 180 years old.
Ryan?
Thank you, David. So when did the museum in this area become a museum?
Yeah, in 1979, Michigan State University donated this estate that had been given to them by Dr. Sarah Van Hoosen Jones, and they gave it back to our community in 1979. It became a local history museum. So we just celebrated last year our 30th anniversary of being a local history museum. So it's a long and pretty proud tradition. A lot of people have really helped us make this a local history museum. So 30 years.
Where does the funding come for the farm and the museum?
For years, we've been very fortunate in that the city of Rochester Hills has been very, very supportive and generous in giving us a budget. And so it comes from the taxpayers of Rochester Hills. And they give us the money to take care of our buildings and to run our educational programs and to maintain an archival collection. And so they've been very, very, very generous. But over the years, they've also been challenged now, and especially in these economic times, some of that money is going away. So what we've done is that we've been pretty successful going right back to the residents and right back to the people who come here anyways, and our guests. And we've asked them to join our membership program and help pay fees and through donations to help provide funding to make up the difference that the city's not able to provide. And we've been very, very fortunate. We have a very generous community. And I think that we've proven to them that it's a good investment for their tax-paying dollars to come right back into this historical facility. So we get most of our funding still from the taxpayers of Rochester Hills. The rest of it, we're earning it.
2. Please state the purpose of the museum and farm.
What is the purpose of it?
Yes.
The purpose of Van Hoosen Farm is, at this point, an educational facility. We are here to inform our community about our community's history and to share that history with them. And we also provide archival storage for different groups in our community.
Ryan?
Michelle, tell us how local schools can use the museum.
The local schools, we're very, very excited that this year we've had the Rochester Community Schools kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, almost 200 field trips, and about 5,000 students come through the museum. And there are programs that are developed specifically for their grade levels that align with their benchmarks for their social studies curriculum.
Thank you. Aaron?
Who chooses and sets up the displays at the museum in the fall?
How are they set up?
Yeah, who chooses the
You know,
exhibits?
sometimes our ideas come from our guests who walk in the door and ask us if we've ever thought about putting on a display or an exhibit. We're fortunate that we really have some nice things in our own collection. So periodically, in fact, right now, if guests came to the museum, they'd have a chance to see things that are usually locked away in our storage rooms. We have them on display. But a year ago right now, we did an exhibit of items that men collect. And so we brought out about 15 different men, loaned their favorite things that they collect at home, and we put those on display. But over the years, we've done everything from carousel horses to pianos to quilts to woven coverlets to wedding dresses. And we're just always looking for people who are very resourceful, who have marvelous collections. And that allows us as a community museum to allow the community to come in and share their passions with all the rest of the guests that come in here. So we plan about a year in advance our exhibits and our displays. And what we're doing is looking for good ideas. We read newspapers, we watch internet for ideas, and we're just looking for those really creative, innovative ideas that would get people excited about coming to a historical museum.
This question is for Pat, Sue, and Michelle. How are events decided and scheduled?
Well, it's the same thing. We're in a position right now at the museum where we have a lot of events, and we do these events every single year, a lot of them. We do programs during the summertime, and we do educational programs. And some of our programs will have a little bit more of a recreational slant. If you came on our Wet and Wild Wednesdays, it really looks like everybody's just out here getting sprayed with water to cool off. But there's an educational component because you can go out to the creek and learn something about the animals and the things that you would find into a creek. So we have an educational component with that. Some of our activities like our garden walk or our visit with Santa Claus or our pumpkin festival are events that happen every year. But what we do is we get together as a staff and we brainstorm ideas. We ask our volunteers, we ask our community, what events would you like to see? And then our job is to pull them together. We have a great staff here at the museum. I think we're excited about people coming out and sharing our facility and using it. So we're out there all the time, and we're always looking for new ideas. So if somebody watching this has a great idea they'd like to see done, we'll try it at the museum. They just need to call us, and we're happy to talk to anybody about any idea.
Orion?
Thank you, David and Aaron. So what is the size of your regular staff here?
The regular staff. Right now we have myself as a full-time employee. We have one full-time maintenance staff member. Sue and Michelle are part-time staff, and we have one part-time archivist position. And then we have hundreds of volunteers. Last year we did over 7,000 hours of volunteer service. So we're the small staff that kind of keep it coordinated, but it's really our volunteers that really help us get all the jobs done out here. A lot of times when a volunteer is interested in coming out here, we steer them towards Michelle, and she'll have a chance to talk about that in a little bit. But we have a very small staff, but it's a very committed, very loyal, and I think we're able to do great things.
Aaron, have a question?
Yes, I do. What are some of the jobs that the staff does?
Well, our staff, we kind of break down our duties into a couple major components. One of them is we're concerned about our buildings. Our buildings are all listed on the National Register of Historic Places, so we have to take care of them. So part of what we do is to maintain buildings. And I think that ultimately the whole staff is responsible for that. But Ed LaFave and Bill Mansfield, who are two of our maintenance staff, they really watch it and get the work done. And whatever we can't get done, then we have to hire contractors to come into. Probably the second major component is our educational programs. And so Michelle coordinates all of our different programs that we have going on, whether it's an activity in the evenings or whether it's an educational program during the day. Our third one is our archives. Our archives is a big component of what we do, is preserving some of the documents and some of the records of our community. Those are probably the three major core things that we do here. Sue handles all of our money for us and makes sure that we're being accountable and we can track everything. And then she also coordinates our weddings, which is part of our programs too. So it's a pretty busy and hustling place here, and I don't think any of us have a very slow day. We have a lot on the agenda at any given time.
Okay, I found this article in a this newspaper about this museum. My question is, how and where do you advertise yourselves?
Yeah, we try to be innovative. We advertise all over. You can hang on to that, David. We send out press releases by email, and we send that to about 50 different radio stations, TV stations, and newspapers. We send it to different historical societies and members of the historical societies. We have about 400 people involved in our membership program, so they get direct emails from us. Our city has a Facebook page. We do little video snippets, and we'll send that out and put links on our website for that. And even a program like this allows us to kind of reach a whole new audience. We also have our own magazine that we put out 4 times a year that lists all of our different programs. It's our membership newsletter. And so we are constantly sending out emails and trying to use new technology as much as we can, realizing that not everybody uses that. So we try to use the new technology as well as keep using some of the older technology in the printed newspaper too.
Ryan?
Thank you, David. So what types of public activities can be scheduled to the use of this fine facility here at the Hoosen Farm Museum?
Well, you know what? It's a public park, and that's one of the beauties, I think, of our museum is that it's owned by the city of Rochester Hills. It's open to the public, and so you could come out here on a day and find children playing in our children's garden. You could come out and find a vintage baseball match going on. You could find a wedding going on in our gazebo. You could find a fisherman or a book reader or a sun lover just enjoying the grounds. You could find gardeners who love to come out here. We have bird watchers who are out looking at our Baltimore Orioles and the bluebirds on our property. You might find a beekeeper on our property. It's a little bit of everything. All we ask is that if people want to call us, just to make sure that we don't have 2 things going on in the same place at the same time, so that everyone can have a really, really, really good experience when they're on our site. But it's a site that has been here for 180 years, that our residents have been here, and we just want to make sure it's well preserved and well taken care of. And we haven't had a problem. It's a great place, and for those who haven't discovered it, we hope that this program will allow them to come out and find out who we are. And I think if you came here and you walked the grounds yourself, I would hope that they would find the same magic about the place that I think all of our staff has already for it, and some of our volunteers, is that we just think this is a magical place. And you come out here, things in your life can really calm down and really become in good focus. It's a beautiful place to come, and the public is welcome to come.
Aaron?
How and when is food?
Is food prepared?
Yeah, prepared and sold.
And we don't do a lot of food preparation here. Usually if we have a big event or a special event that involves food, we usually have a caterer bring the food with them. And the reason why is that we're trying to protect our facilities, especially the inside of our facility. Inside a building that we're in right now, we could have oriental rugs or very fragile furnishings or upholstery. So we're very careful inside. We're afraid of a spill or an accident inside. And so we really restrict what happens on the inside of our buildings and the type of food that's served. Some of our other buildings are a little more durable and a little easier to use. And so what we do is we work very closely with someone who wants to serve food in our property, and we just make sure it's a good match so that they can serve the food at their special event, and we can protect the buildings that we're trying to do every day and make sure it's here long after all of us is here. So we allow food service, but we kind of watch it pretty carefully just to make sure everybody gets exactly what they need out of it. And then we always hope that they leave some leftover cookies for the rest of the museum staff.
I have a big question for you guys. When it comes to inside this book called Volunteer Connection, my question is this. Please tell us about your volunteer program.
Without volunteers, I really worry about how we would run all of our programs. We really depend on our volunteers. And as Pat was saying before, we have between 7,000 and 8,000 hours of volunteer work annually. About 150, 180 volunteers on our list, but about 20 to 25 that are regular volunteers like Ryan and David that come on a weekly basis.
What is your dress code here?
Our dress code, we ask that our volunteers dress as the staff does, with a staff shirt and pants and sturdy shoes, just like that. Those are our team colors, burgundy.
That's right.
That's right.
It looks pretty good too.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Aaron. Now, how do you decide to involve volunteers with disabilities?
It was our good fortune when Tina Rajan and PJ DeQueer came to us with resume in hand and an interest in history and wanting to volunteer. And then soon Tina introduced us to David and to Ryan, and the rest is history. It's been a partnership, and it's a win-win situation for all of us.
How are volunteers with disabilities picked?
It's based on interest and skill level and the willingness. Scheduling is an important part of it. And you know, our volunteers have some kind of an interest either in gardens or the history of the community or volunteering within the community. Your program is called Community Corner, and that's what we're all about. We're about the community. And so primarily it's based on ability to perform the tasks and your interest in serving your community.
Okay. What requirements are needed for these volunteers and why?
Well, you have to be willing and able to do the work, and you've shown us that you have been able to do the work, from greeting guests at special events to helping us direct traffic for our weddings, to helping with special events, to assembling materials for our programs, and you know, the multitude of things that you do, as well as participating in tours. And you've done a fine job of learning how to give tours in our facility here.
Somebody tell you something. Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you very much for that nice compliment you gave me.
Thank you.
So tell us about some of the jobs about the volunteers do. I've done several jobs. You've given me several different tasks, like cutting something. Makes Ryan cut something. You say, Tina, like I miss Tina. Tina, I wish you were here, Tina. I'm gonna miss you a lot. But some of it, you may have Tina and I cut things. So what are some jobs that you feel that are really important volunteers should be doing?
Well, you've mentioned some of the clerical work, and that's the assembling of materials for our programs, or our mailing of our newsletters, assembling our tickets for our garden walk that you just did, helping with the parking, helping with the chairs for our weddings and our special events, greeting people at the desk. But we also have volunteers here, members of the Quilt Guild who make quilts for us, and the Grangers baseball team. The Women's National Farm and Garden Association works to keep our grounds in pristine condition in our children's garden. And then again, it's Community Corner. We draw from the community for our special events. We have a lot of different organizations who participate in things like our Pumpkin Festival and support us in that way.
Any other question?
Yeah. How many volunteers with special needs are scheduled each week?
5.
5?
Being a volunteer, what do they do if they are unable to fill their volunteer schedule?
My volunteers are very, very good about calling, emailing, checking with us ahead of time. And that's part of the volunteer job, is being able to communicate effectively and maintain a schedule.
Ryan?
Thank you, David and Aaron.
Yeah.
What are some steps to those with disabilities that need to take maybe to become a full-time volunteer?
They would have to come to the museum with a resume and fill out some paperwork that we have, and we have to do a background check for everybody who volunteers at the museum. Okay. And they'd have to go through an interview with me, and we'd try to match the person with the jobs that we have here at the museum.
All right.
Do your special needs volunteers need? Is there a person with them?
Sometimes it's very useful. Sometimes the jobs that are being performed do take an assistant with our special needs volunteers.
Ladies and parents, do you have a success story to tell us?
An interesting story, a success story?
Yeah.
Story.
Well, I think the whole museum is a success story. I mean, the museum is not a success because necessarily just of the paid staff, although we have a great paid staff at the museum. It's a success story because the whole community has embraced it and has helped support it. And it's not because they just did it this year. They've been doing it for 30 years. And it's been a consistent devotion, I guess, and dedication from the whole community. All the different city councils, all the different township supervisors and mayors, and all those different people who have been out there to help us to raise money and support a museum like this. In order for us to be successful, it requires a whole giant team of people to help us, from the paid staff to the 7,000 to 8,000 hours of volunteers, from gentlemen who play vintage baseball to gardeners to those helping to fold things and get those in the mail to us. So the success story at the museum is that the whole community has been behind it. I don't know if Michelle or Sue have other success stories, but I see it every day, and it's just it's really a fun thing to be a part of when you see the success and the opportunities that we have.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to turn to our favorite questions, guys.
Michelle, I don't like, I'm with you, Michelle. Now tell me, what is your favorite restaurant in the entire world to go to?
My favorite restaurant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness sakes.
And it's not
My
Michelle
very
Denham.
favorite restaurant in the
Absolute
entire
favorite.
world
In the
to
entire
go to.
world.
I have to say I do enjoy Cruisemere
Cruisemere.
on Main Street in downtown Rochester.
Well, it's going to be my favorite too. Cruisemere on Main Street. They have other Cruisemeres. I like the one on Main Street in downtown Rochester.
Michelle, what about you?
Well, I too love Cruisemere, but my all-time favorite,
Yeah.
since you said in the world,
Yes.
is Mama's Fish House on the beach in Maui.
Maui, Hawaii. Aaron, that's a perfect question. That's fine.
What is your favorite piece of that you have in the museum?
Favorite? I have two favorites, I have to say. One of them is that we have collections of a woven coverlet that was woven in the 1840s by a weaver whose name was Abraham William Van Doren. And that we have those is remarkable to me. He won the first prize in the Michigan State Fair in 1849. He was from Avon Township, Michigan, which is now our city. And we have several of his weavings, and the colors are still just beautiful. And I can only imagine how excited someone must have been when they got that for the first time in the 1840s. It's still exciting to me to get it now, and almost 200 years later. I'm just so excited about those. The other one is we have a chair, even in this room, and it was a chair that Sarah Van Hoosen Jones received from her father. And they called it the Roman X chair. And it kind of has a shape of an X on it. It's just always been one of my favorite pieces. I'm not even sure it's comfortable to sit in because I've never tried it before. But I just like the look of it, all that wood.
Yeah. What about you two?
Well, my favorite piece in the farmhouse is the chest of drawers in the dining room, which came with the Taylor family from New York State in 1823 when they came by wagon. And I just think that that's amazing to look at that piece of furniture and think how far it traveled to get here. So that's my favorite.
And you?
Mine is right here in this room, and it's this settee right here that has the striped fabric and striped paint, and it was a gift to Sarah Taylor Van Hoosen from her husband Joshua, and it was purchased with money that he got in the gold rush.
Well, Aaron, if anybody left that program.
Actually, not yet. 3 minutes. I know that you all love water, right? But in the background, what is your favorite pop?
Favorite pop?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with Coca-Cola. I think would be my favorite.
How about you?
Diet Coke?
How about you?
Gosh, I'd have to say Diet Verner's.
Oh, that's a good Detroit one.
Would you please close to me now?
Thank Pat, Michelle, and Sue so much for being our guests and telling us how important volunteers are at the museum. It is a wonderful place to volunteer and have the opportunity to give back to our community. We are using our abilities to support a historical gem in our community. Pat, Sue, Michelle, you are inspiration to us. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks for coming, all three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
It's our
welcome.
pleasure.
Am I this way?
Pleasure
Honored
to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I this way?
I'm David DeWitt Taylor. and we're watching the movie. See you in July.